Good afternoon. My name is Nicola Willier-Fenton. I am in our continuing and distance education department at the University of Vermont. We're going to talk about social media storytelling today. Tyler King is joining us from Utah. We'll learn a little bit more about his background. He's the instructor for this course. We're going to talk about the new social media storytelling professional certificate. Who is this course right for? We often get that question in terms of the different roles that you may play at your organization, or you may own your business as well. And is this course right for you? We'll talk about that. And it wouldn't be a UVM continuing and distance education course without a lot of hands-on work and a lot of real actionable items coming out of the course. So we'll talk about that with Tyler also. Logistics, application timeline. What do you need to do to get into the course, which starts in a little less than a month? And we will be keeping an eye out for questions as well throughout the presentation. You can put questions into the chat box on YouTube. And if you have any questions, we'll be sure to get those over to Tyler here throughout the presentation. So let's dive in. As I mentioned, I'm Nicole. I am our content marketing manager at the University of Vermont's Continuing and Distance Education Department. So social media is a big thing that I work on as well. So I'm really excited to hear from Tyler too. Tyler is a social media marketer at Bamboo HR. So I'm really interested to see the kind of work that he does. And he says when he's not spending his days writing and reading tweets, he's a big fan of Twitter. He loves to ride his bike, watch football, wrestle with my kids, and when it's not a global pandemic, go to the movies. Here in Vermont, the movie theaters are starting to open up a little bit, so that's an encouragement.
That's good.
It is good. I'm looking forward to that someday. Maybe not yet, but soon. So wanted to just make sure that everyone who's joining us today really understands that the social media storytelling course is one of our short courses in the larger digital marketing course offerings that we have at our continuing and distance education department. And I just really love to show this slide because we have such an amazing team of instructors, and Tyler included. Our instructors in all of our digital marketing, either the fundamentals course or the short courses like Tyler is teaching, are experts in their field. And I know, Tyler, you don't love to consider yourself a social media expert. We'll talk about that in a second. But you do this work every single day. And all of the people on this slide are in digital marketing in some facet every single day. And these are the people that you learn from in all of our digital marketing offerings. So Tyler, give us a little bit of a background. Tell us a little bit about your work, the kind of work you do at Bamboo HR, and kind of how that applies to this course.
Yeah, for sure. So quick background for me, I like to tell people that I kind of fell into social media about 10 years ago because 10 years ago, social media marketing didn't really exist. And I graduated from college during the height of the first Great Recession. And I realized my current degree in history wasn't going to cut it. And so I went to work selling cars, and I realized selling cars was not my jam either. But I really loved the aspect of communicating to people the stories behind what cars that they should buy, and the marketing and the advertising. And I realized that's kind of where more of my passions lie. And so I went back to school and got my master's in communications. And from ever since then, I've been working in digital marketing and specifically in social media. And currently I'm the social media manager for Bamboo HR. Bamboo HR it's an online HR software. So it handles all of your onboarding, all of your recruiting, payroll, performance reviews, all that boring HR stuff. Because let's be honest, everyone hates HR because everybody hates Toby from The Office. But it's my job to make that a little bit more exciting and a little bit more to showcase to people how using Bamboo HR can really set people free to do great work. And I love using social to do that because it allows us to really connect and build a real relationship with our audience. And that's one of the most powerful things that social media can do.
Absolutely, it can. And I think the aspect of storytelling is really such an important part of marketing, but probably the key component to social media success as well. So the slide that we have up right now, and we always get this question, is this course right for me? And I'm sure many people who are joining us today are asking that. And feel free to put into the chat box on YouTube, what is your role? Are you considering that you do all the social media on your own? Do you work for a larger organization? Are you part of a team? Do you work for a nonprofit? We'd love to hear just the roles that you play and how this course may benefit you. But, Tyler, I'll zip through some of these different, different kinds of roles that are popping up here. But walk us through Who is this course for?
Right. Well, obviously, number one, I put on here social media marketers. There's always time for us to improve our skills when it comes to storytelling. That's one of those muscles that you have to work over and over, and to really, and it really takes a lot of time uh, to learn that skill. But also, I put on here PR professionals. I think one thing that's so important nowadays is these lines of marketing and comms, like this is only PR, or no, this is just social, or this is just traditional marketing. Those lines are gone. Modern PR is social media. I mean, look at, especially over the last few months, with people dealing with not just with COVID-19, but also very importantly with Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. Like, socials on the front lines of communicating your position to your audience when it comes to COVID or Black Lives Matter, or whatever the case may be. And so traditionally that would just be for PR professionals, but now it's social. And also now very similar for SEO. I worked in SEO for a few years as well. And when you think about content and social and SEO, they all work together. The search engines, they're always looking for ways, and those social signals to kind of showcase the content that shows up in those search results. And so also I think for SEO managers, as you're figuring out what content should go on your site, how should you engage with your audience with blogs or ebooks or infographics? I mean, storytelling's right there, and that's why I feel like it's so important. And then also for small business owners, and those teams of one, like I get that. I've worked for agencies before, and we have worked with small businesses, from dental offices to, local jewelers, things like that. A lot of times I get it. They don't have a marketing team. They don't have the money also to hire this massive agency. And social is a great equalizer. I mean, anyone can sign up and create a Facebook account, a Twitter account, or whatever the case may be, and start engaging with their audience. But it takes a lot of work. I think that's one of the things I get from people a lot, is once they do get into social, they're like, whoa, this is a little bit more complicated than just posting, fun cat videos and things like that. And then finally, too, for nonprofit, they're very similar boat. Don't have these massive marketing teams, the budget and things like that. But also nonprofits have a very unique angle, is that a lot of times their marketing is built on these very unique storytelling um, campaigns, and using empathy and using all these different emotions to help people understand the importance of their cause. And I feel like for nonprofit people, really harnessing and fine tuning that storytelling is only going to help in their marketing efforts.
Absolutely. And I know we usually do have social nonprofit folks asking, is this course going to address work in nonprofit, and will it be relevant? And the fact that you work for a nonprofit is probably a really great example for people as well, would you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's also talk about, you know, how can people anticipate what they're going to get out of this?
Yeah.
As I consider courses as well, what are the tangible, what are the actionable, what are the outcomes that I will gain to either elevate my current role, look for a new role, get started? And maybe that's a thing to consider too. Is this course right for somebody who's just kind of getting started in social media as well? So
Yeah.
let's walk through some of these things. Tyler, I'll just put a few up on the screen while we're talking, and
Yeah.
walk us through what are folks going to gain out of this?
Yeah, no, these are all fantastic points. And Nicole, I think you raised a really cool question about, is this kind of a great place to start? And as I was developing this course, I thought back to my time in college, 10 plus years ago, and I didn't have any of this. I had to learn all of this on the fly, all this just in real world experience. And there was a little bit of faking it till you make it, but that's okay. That's just part of life. But if I was thinking about it, if I was starting out in social media, or any kind of marketing in general, I would really want to make sure I understood the art of storytelling, and how it can be used in social campaigns. So I may be a little biased, but yeah, I think this is a great place to start, even for people who aren't going into social media marketing specifically. And just kind of going through these three points here just a little bit. That first point, social is so important, because gone are the days where you just have a billboard, or you just have a commercial on TV or radio. Now it has to be a two-way street of communication. And you got to think of these engagements that you get on social, they're really votes of confidence your audience has in your brand. And not all engagements are created equal. I mean, yeah, likes are great and things like that, but what you really want is content that people share. That's what the social algorithms want to see, and that's what your audience wants to do as well. They want to trust your brand so much that they want to then share that content with their family, with their friends, with their colleagues. And then so that's what we're going to talk about a lot is what's going to make this story shareable. And that flows into point number two is now that we have the shareable content, how do you then turn around and create an audience that also loves your brand? I think now more than ever, people vote on brands that they connect with, not just on a does this help my like does this help fulfill a need, but does this company align with what I believe in? Does it align with what I would want to do if I worked for that company or whatever the case may be? And so storytelling allows people to get kind of an inside behind the scenes look at your company as well. And I think that's super important. And also, it's very important to remember as well that yes, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all these different social channels share similarities, but your storytelling needs to be adapted depending upon the channel that it goes on. From just a simple, nuts and bolts, Twitter only allows you to have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to LinkedIn, where it allows you 10 minutes to Facebook. It just, you can go forever or on YouTube, but it's also about what do people do on those platforms, and they're all going to be very unique. And so those are the things, some of the things that we're going to talk about when it comes to what channel your story should go on.
And how to use them really to the best of your ability. And I know that in our digital marketing fundamentals, there's a particular week that really focuses on the analytics as well. So
Yeah,
really to
yeah,
understand, it's great that you are understanding your audience and building the storytelling, but is it working? And that's something
exactly.
that's really an important piece as
Yeah,
well.
we'll dive into the analytics a little bit in our last module on in week 4, but nothing as crazy as I'm sure that first session that first class is.
Yep.
So again, very similar. That these points we want to make sure we build that. Most importantly, that trust. We need to make sure that social allows brands to really sometimes also own up to mistakes that they make and also turn those into positives. I just saw one just yesterday. Somehow, some way, I don't know if this was probably on purpose or not. We may never know, but somehow the pricing was released for the new Xbox. I can't remember. It was Xbox 5. I don't know. I should know. Anyway, it got released. People were like, "Oh my gosh, Microsoft! I can't believe this happened. Well, what's going on?" And Microsoft was a champ. They played it off like, "Whoops, we don't know," or "Oh dang, our bad." But they were like, "Oh, here's the pricing. Here's what it is," and it turned what could have been a negative into something that went semi-viral across Twitter, and it helped people build that trust and build that love and affection that they have with Microsoft and with Xbox. So yeah, that's just one quick example of you gotta be quick on social as well, and it's always changing. And then also too, getting more into the nuts and bolts, good old-fashioned writing and using visuals from um, videos, images, but also GIFs or GIFs, depending upon what you say. In my course, we're gonna say GIFs. That's just the way I like it. So sorry, everybody. But those are so important too, because I like to tell people we consume social most of the time on our phones, and so you're scrolling. And so I always like to tell people what's going to stop the scroll, and most of the time it's going to be that visual, that picture, that video, that GIF, but then it's going to be the copy that goes along with that seals the deal. That then it allows people to be like, okay, am I going to click through? Am I going to share? Am I going to accomplish that call to action that you have? And that's why it's so important that you're on point with those with the copy and also with the visual aspect of your social posts. And so we'll get into all the nitty gritty on that one as well. And then the last one, now it's super important today to incorporate influencers and customer stories into your storytelling. Influencers is a really cool word in the last few months with social media. You have your traditional influencers that everyone thinks of, like the Kardashians or these Insta influencers and things like that. And they do play a role depending upon your brand and things like that. But every brand has influencers. They have people who love their brand. I mean, I'm in the market to look for a new e-bike, and I think so is everybody else in the world. And you can't buy them, or you can't buy a bike anywhere. And so what I've done in my research is I've gone just to regular people with their YouTube videos and with their Insta stories, and they're going through and doing reviews, and they're doing kind of step-by-step guides and things like that. And so I realized, that's influencers right there. And that's what you want, and that's what you want as a brand, and that's what social can do for you as well. So those are super fun to use as well in your social media storytelling campaigns.
Great. Thank you for going over so many of those wonderful points. And we do have Anna shares with us that she's running social media for her husband and a historical weapon sword school as my own
Oh,
lifestyle teaching brand and want to expand my skill set. So that's a really interesting perspective that Anna has. She runs something for her husband's business, but also has her own brand that she's building. Any thoughts on just how the course can help her to see kind of those two different avenues?
yeah. Well, first off, Anna, I want to see this historical weapons sword school. I mean, that sounds fascinating. Um, I think I think that's a really great point, is because social media is going to be a little bit different in your storytelling when it comes to working for a brand, where you have a very set kind of, this is our brand style guide, this is our brand story, these are kind of the rules and regulations of how we want to portray our brand. Then when you have kind of your own either group or your kind of your own side hustle separate, with that it's going to be more about you as a person, your story. Why did you start, did you decide to start an historical weapons sword school? That's a story right there that I want to know more about, and that's what people want to see. They want to know exactly what you've done and see your passion come through. And that's what makes storytelling so much easier as well, is when you're passionate about the brand or the subject or the product that you're working for. So we'll get into that as well, kind of differences between an official corporate brand and then your own personal brand too.
Great. And thank you, Anna, for sharing that with us as well. Speaking of the kinds of things that you'll get into, as I mentioned in the beginning, it wouldn't be a UVM continuing and distance education course without a lot of hands-on, real
Yes.
actionable work in the course. And I know this isn't only a 4-week course, but there's going to be a manageable amount of work to do. So don't want to overwhelm
Yes.
anyone. But at the same time, you're really going to dive in. And can you just share
Yes.
with us a little bit? We have this example. I think it's always helpful for prospective students to understand what you might do as an example of some of the work that you are currently doing, Tyler. So just kind of give everybody a glimpse as to what kind of work could they be doing in this course.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to be doing, I mean, when I was developing this course, one of the things I really wanted to focus on was, again, what did I wish that I had when I was in school? And one of the things that I wish I had was actual, like, how do you write Twitter? I mean, how do you write Twitter? How do you write a tweet? How do you then formulate this image so it looks great, but also keeps to your brand, and making videos? Like, all of this can be very daunting because, yes, are you going to be this expert level graphic designer or videographer or anything like that after this course? Probably not. But as social media marketers, we wear a lot of hats, and we have to be able to create content on the fly. And so we're going to be doing a lot of writing. We're going to be doing a lot of creation, Photoshop, making videos, um, using GIFs and making GIFs and things like that. So there's gonna be a lot of hands-on things that we're gonna be doing that will all lead up to a final project where you're gonna be creating your own social media campaign with video and images and copy and things like that. So it's all gonna work together. And this example that I have here, so Bamboo HR, like I mentioned before, is an HR software company. And every year we host the world's largest HR virtual conference. So we were doing virtual conferences before it was cool, or because we can't go anywhere. So we can't really take too much credit for that one. But this year was obviously for everybody. 2020 was a year of change. It was a year of just turmoil and uncertainty and things like that. And a lot of our HR people have not been able to go to the normal events and get the certifications that they're used to getting. And so we wanted to kind of uh, touch on that and acknowledge kind of that stress. And this is a video that showcases that. But also towards the end of the video, we wanted to take that uncertainty and that stress that we're all feeling, but also then turn it into a positive. And so towards the end of this video, you see what she does is she gets more and more pumped up and more excited and more like, yes, we can do this. And that's just a really simple way that we can use storytelling as a way to connect with what everyone's experiencing, acknowledge the problem, acknowledge that things are tough right now, but then lead people down a journey of, yeah, it's been rough, but we can do it. We can do hard things. And here's how the HR Virtual Summit will help you kind of overcome the things that you've experienced this year. So feel free for people to go and check that out on LinkedIn or across Bamboo social channels as well. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I always like to connect with people and also with the students that will have on my class. So yeah, that's just one quick example of the things that we're going to be creating in this course.
And I would imagine, because I know we had been creating quite a bit of videos, but it seems like we are creating 4 times the amount of videos
Yeah.
currently. That's the way that everybody's communicating since we can't be in person. And so I'd love to just pose that question out to our viewers today. Are you indeed creating more virtual assets like videos, and do you feel comfortable creating GIFs as well? I think that's a great outcome of this course, is that you'll get hands-on experience in doing that as well, because I think that's an important thing for people to understand and just feel comfortable to be able to
Yeah.
do it.
And
So
we have some, oh, sorry, Nicole, just real quick too. Like, that can be really intimidating, but we have some great software that's free. Like Canva is fantastic. Go and make a Canva account. Even if you don't take this class, it's going to make your life so much easier. And it's free.
my 11-year-old son has a Canva account. So
That's
which of
awesome.
course he's a digital native, so we got to understand kind of we're in different places, but he is creating his own custom thumbnails for his YouTube
Yeah.
channel and getting incredibly comfortable in that software. So if he can do it, we can do it too. So
Yes.
let's talk about the structure of the course as well. Very typical of our courses at CDE. They start on a Wednesday, so they kind of open up, the modules open up on a Wednesday. And this is a 4-week course, so it's a little bit more boot camp intensive style. And access to supplemental readings, video presentations, and there'll be a lot of interaction amongst the students as well. Tyler, just maybe just walk us through what does a typical week look like for a student?
Yeah, so typical week, and so what everyone will do is I'll have an announcement welcoming everyone to the week, kind of outlining that week's uh, presentation, discussions, homework, all that kind of fun stuff. And then each week you'll have a weekly presentation from me going through the slides, making sure people understand the different aspects of social media storytelling. Each of those presentations will have also supplemental TED Talks to watch, YouTube videos to watch, additional articles from HubSpot and Buffer and Hoopsuite and all these kind of very authoritative social media companies as well. And then also at the end of every week, we'll have some kind of we will have an assignment where we go through copywriting or images or kind of understanding the different social media structures and archetypes and things like that. And also we want everyone to be discussing. So I'll post questions weekly, and we'll have people agree and disagree and politely argue and all that kind of fun stuff. That's so important when it comes to really learning, and I want people to be able to vocalize what they've learned and teach their fellow students and all that kind of fun stuff. And then also lastly, we'll have a capstone project where we'll put everything together, and we'll have everyone kind of create I don't want to say basic, but it's not going to, but the good old fashioned social media campaign using storytelling and all the different things that we learned over the month.
Sounds great. As I mentioned to you, I might be signing up for it as well. Always dust off those skill sets.
All are welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. We do hope that the people watching today, that you're considering joining this course, because it starts, as I said, a little less than a month, so October 7th. Our short courses do have a limited number of seats as well, and they do tend to fill. So if this is a course you're considering, please do jump in and put your name in the hat to save your seat as well. The cost is listed here. And also, if you are an affiliation of UVM or you've taken our digital marketing fundamentals and this is the opportunity for you to dive deeper into social media, this is the course for you. So please do mention that if you are signing up. And we are recording this as well, so we will share the recording out afterwards. I want to also, and I see another question come in, so we'll get to that in just a moment. I do want to also encourage folks that are considering the course, There is a bonus module. Eric Harbison is our lead instructor on digital marketing fundamentals. And one business that he runs is helping digital marketing professionals connect with career opportunities. So he is the perfect person to guide you as you are considering how to market yourself. As we mentioned in the beginning, you may be new to social media. So maybe you're a career starter and social is something that you want to do as a career. Maybe you're a career advancer. You've done social. You want to have some credentials behind you through this course to maybe expand your role as social media. Or maybe you're part of a team and you just really want to understand how social plays into the larger picture. And so Eric's More Marketable You, the bonus module, is an opportunity for you to do that in your career as well. So I highly recommend that you consider, if you are considering the course, that this is something that you do as well. So Tyler, wanted to come back to a question here. We have a question that says, I live in Dubai, which is wonderful. So great to see our international students as well. My brother has just started a perfume company on Instagram, aiming to expand it to other social medias and soon have a store of its own. It's very difficult to get clients at this time. It sure is.
Yes.
You talk in the course about how we touched a little bit on starting, but how about starting a new venture? So maybe not starting in social media, but starting a new venture, and how can you utilize social media to leverage that?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things to understand too, I like to tell people when they're first starting out with social, is that it's going to take time. Very rarely do you have an overnight success where things just go viral, and a lot of times when you do see things go viral or have an overnight success, a lot of times that's a 5, 6, 7 year overnight success as well. So I like to tell people, be patient. It takes time. You have to earn people's trust, especially when it comes to more of these consumer brands like perfume and things like that. It's going to take good old-fashioned time. And with perfume, that's where it comes down to influencers and getting other people to talk about your brand. Because of course, as the official perfume brand, like for that Aisha will have, or Saisha, excuse me, people aren't going to be like, yeah, well, of course that you're going to say that you have the best perfume, or whatever the case may be. But if you can get other people, their friends, their family, or they will trust that more than that they'll trust you in the beginning. And that's why it's so important to start with honing your message, your brand, your story, and then that way you can then turn around, and as you get more and more customers, turn to them to ask them to help you as well. So it's going to take time, it's going to take a lot of effort, but the thing what we talked about in this class will definitely help you.
One of the things too that I think that maybe Saisha could consider is, because also posted, he's acting like a perfume portal for the local brands here, but maybe our approach is very attractive for the brands out there. Well, I think there needs to be asking, right? And you need to have those conversations, and you need to be watching the other brands to see what they're doing, to see how you can add value to that conversation for them as well. Any thoughts on how the course may help to navigate that, to build those relationships with other brands or influencers as well?
Yeah, I think as you hone in on your story and who you are and why you're here, and then what you can offer, then it's gonna be way more easier for people than to be like, okay, now I understand. Now I can connect with this brand. And then as they engage with the product and they realize, okay, now I don't just trust this brand, but now I really love this brand. So, yeah, fine tuning that story of who you are and why you're here is priority number one, and that's what we'll go over as well too.
Great, thank you. And one of the other things that we're learning from Tyler today too is that throughout the course you'll be building a campaign. And
Yeah.
so this would be a great opportunity to build a campaign specifically for your brother's business as well. And other people that are joining us today, you're more than welcome to share in the chat box. Would you be building campaigns for your own company, for a company you work for? We've heard a little bit from Anna and Shaisha today too. Would love to hear what other people are doing also, as to how you may be using this information in the course. Tyler, let's go back a little bit before we end, giving a chance for any additional questions. What is it, and I hate to ask this question, but I'm going to. What is a typical day like for a social media marketer at Bamboo HR? How much time do you spend on the planning, the execution, and the review of how it performs?
Whew, that is a great question. It's funny, I've had to have the similar conversation because I just got a brand new boss. So I've been having to help her get up to speed and help her, because she comes from the very traditional PR world. And but she's been fantastic, and she's flat out said, like, I understand PR and that, but then social is a whole new ball game for her. And so what I've told her and what I like to tell everyone else, like with social, there is, for every tweet or Instagram post that you see from brands, there is hours and hours of research from your own brand on kind of what do you want to say and what each product really means, to competitive research, making sure that your product stands out compared to what everybody else is saying. Also, too, once you kind of figure out your story for that particular product, there's a lot of writing involved. When I started out early in my HR career, my bosses had me write three different social posts for the same post, and I had to do it in three different ways. At that time, I hated it. It was just so much writing and so much work. But now looking back on that, now that gave me the skills I needed to really boil things down so much faster. And so I don't necessarily have to write three different ones anymore because I've had that experience. And so you have that pre-posting and then the posting, and then really after that you have, before you can really evaluate how it does well when it comes to likes and shares and link clicks, is how are you then engaging with people on Twitter or on Instagram with your content. That's something that I've been trying to do a lot better of over the last 6 months, is making sure I don't post things and then just forget about it. What can I do to inspire questions? What can I do to make people laugh? What can I do to make people like, oh, okay, Bamboo, that's a different way to look at things. And also then turn it around and making sure that I engage with our partners who talk about very similar things, to other HR influencers. And so there's a lot more of that being on the platform and making sure that you are not just a poster, but you're also doing your very best to engage with other people in very similar conversations, and making sure people know that you're here to still engage and not just, have social be a one-way street, which sadly is a very common tale for a lot of brands, because that engagement and that going through Twitter, like, it takes time. It's not something that's super easy to do. And then lastly is then going back through and making sure you have those right KPIs in place, so you know if things are successful. And those are going to be different depending upon the campaign. And then, of course, every once in a while you have social, you have the customer service aspect, and that's always fun when people like to yell at you and all that kind of fun stuff. And I always like to tell people as well, when you get into social media marketing, you quickly learn, oh, I should be nice to people on Twitter. They're just regular people just like me, who don't necessarily have all the authority in the world to give you that $500 refund or whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, it's a full day for sure, and it all just depends too on your objectives for that month. But you wear a lot of hats when it comes to social media marketing.
Absolutely, you do. No kidding. So we have a question from Maria, who sounds like she also wears a lot of hats as well. She runs social media for a technology company, and my personal cookie Instagram account. I don't. But I see I don't get the right followers or quality followers. How can we improve on this? So what? And that's hard to give advice, right? And I'm not asking you to give advice, Tyler, but um, how will the course help her to be able to do that more effectively?
Right. How can I put this? No matter who you are, you will always get followers. Bots are a real thing, especially as we approach this presidential campaign, that you will see more and more. Not to get political or anything like that, but they're just, bots are real, especially on Twitter and on Instagram. And so you will always get some. Now, if you're getting a ton, Maria, that's something that you and I could talk about offline, of like, how's your targeting when it comes to your paid ads and things like that. I mean, that plays a huge role. But again, it's going to take time. It's going to be that fine tuning your story and making sure that people know exactly who you are, why you're here, and why they should follow you. So as you fine tune that story, you'll begin to see your quality followers go up, and you'll be able to better understand, and you'll be able to see the right people start to follow you. And also, if you do see lots of bots and people who aren't engaging with your content, it's totally okay to have them unfollow your page, block them, because that hurts your algorithm score when people engage with your content as well. So don't be afraid to block people. That was like 10 years ago, that was a massive no-no in social media. But now with the toxicity that is out there, that's totally fine. And with so many bots and fake, and that's totally fine to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that happening on some of the channels that my son is on as well. And so it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see how often that happens. And so we have a question also from Rebecca. She works in marketing communications for a healthcare company and oversees the external content from newsletters to social, right? You wear many, many hats. But she'd like to stretch herself and focus a campaign on my brother's new Vermont farm as it gears up as a new business. I think it will be fun. So I think that kind of almost goes back a little bit to, I think it was Anna's first comment of dual roles, really focusing in on a specific topic in your corporate world and then also doing something that can be really fun. And it sounds like this course can help her to see those two
Yes.
different channels and two different audiences.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about B2B and B2C and those differences, and also for your own personal brand. And also, Rebecca, oh man, for our farm, the storytelling possibilities on there are endless. I mean, you could have a lot of fun, and the good news is as well, yes, we will create images with Canva and videos and GIFs like that, so they will be more highly produced. What's nice now as well is you don't have to have this massive setup with a crazy 4K camera and all these lights and things like that. Sometimes the story is just you out there on the farm showing how things are done, showing how you milk or whatever the farm is. Like it's that or organic in more ways than one for a farm. That natural way to kind of showcase who you are. People love that. People love to know the people behind the camera. And so don't feel like, oh no, I have to go out and get this crazy camera or setup or anything like that. Stay true to who you are. And that's going to be one of the best stories that you can share for either for your company and also for your own personal brand.
And this may be a good question that might help Rebecca as well. How much in the course do you talk about the planning? Because I certainly know that thinking of work that needs to be done on a farm, getting a few images for an Instagram post might not be the highest priority of all
Right.
the other things that need to get done. And so, how do you help students see the most effective way to plan for creating assets, collecting assets, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so all of that is built in throughout all the different modules as we go, and especially we talk about copywriting and the images and the video and things like that. One of the things that I find myself having to kind of pull back on all the time is not everything has to go on social, and not everything needs to go on social, and you need to make sure it's quality over quantity, and that goes into the planning. There's a lot of people out there on social right now, and you have to compete with a lot of different voices out there. And so that's why the planning is so important, not just from a specific, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are the best time for your brand, but also the plan of what is the content that's going to connect with people the most, as it maps to the different parts of your overall business and as also to your overall personal brand. So yeah, all that's baked in. We'll go over that, and that's where too a lot of the discussion that we'll have each week. That's where we'll get a lot of that as well. Because, well, yes, I built the course to try and cover as much as I can, but with social, everyone is just so different, and every industry is going to be different. And I feel like in those discussions, we'll be able to really get into that nitty gritty.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. I just know how important it is to try to be as efficient as possible with your time, whether you're working for a healthcare company or a farm. It really is all the same in terms of that planning. Saisha has a follow-up question. It's a little difficult to have a strategic outlook on your social media. But what's more important, or what's more difficult, excuse me, is it where do you bring the creativity from? Any tips? And maybe it kind of goes back, I would guess, from what is the purpose? Why are you there? Why
Right.
why did your brother want to start this company? What's appealing? What's the background for perfume? What's the interest? So do you
Right.
start by having to back up and really understand the premise behind the organization itself when it's a new company?
Yeah, you have to not just know your why of why you're there, but for social, it's so important. This is a hill that I will fight and die on. You have to be passionate about it. If you don't have any passion, if you don't have any skin in the game or care, it's going to be so hard to have that creativity when it comes to the content that you create. It's interesting. Like for me right now, I work for Bamboo HR, which is an HR software, which again, on the surface, you're like, boring. Like I mean, it's HR, but it's interesting as I talk to people about what I do. Yes, it's HR, but what it really is and what I'm passionate about is I get to impact how businesses create great company culture. And that's what I care about the most because in my career, I've worked for some companies that not great company culture. And I know the repercussions of how it can impact not just your professional life, but also your personal life. I mean, work is who we are. I mean, and that's where we get a lot of our value from. And that's why it's so important that we believe in what we're doing. And also, I do understand that we may not be able to have 100% passion about every single aspect of the company we work for, or even if it's a side project. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But you need to find those few different parts of your perfume brand, of the farm, of your healthcare, and things like that, and focus on that and what makes you excited. And as you do that, and as you plan and as you brainstorm, that's where the creativity will come from.
Absolutely. Thank you for that point, and thank you for those great questions from everybody
Yes,
today.
thank you.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up here in just a minute. So just giving a shout out to see if there's any additional questions. I'm just going to zip back over to kind of the deadline and when the course starts. So as I said, it starts in a little less than a month. So October 7th, it is a 4-week course. And as I mentioned, just thinking about how your week will work out. If you hopefully sign up and join Tyler in this course, it'll be Wednesday is really the start of each module. And then assignments and various different projects throughout the week will be really due usually by the end of the day, Tuesday, as the module kind of ends, and then the next one kicks off the next morning as well. So take a look at your calendar, see if you can join us on that October 7th. So we're really looking forward to a wonderful group. Sounds like we've had a lot of great questions today and interest in the course. So we appreciate that. So Tyler, any parting words, any last minute plug for why people should take this course and join this journey with you?
Well, it's funny. When I was creating this course about, storytelling and things like that, like I got excited about it. I was like, oh man, like this helped me in my career, even though I've been doing social media for 10 years. There are things that I realized like, oh man, Tyler, are you really practicing what you're teaching? And it's just nowadays with just the craziness in the world and all the noise and things like that, it's so important for brands to craft stories that number one connect with their audience, but also bring positivity, bring joy, bring value, and really help social media be the amazing tool that it is and not just the crazy wild west of negativity that sometimes social can fall into. And I think this course will help people either with their own professional or with their personal side projects be able to do that.
Awesome. Great. And we appreciate your enthusiasm for this field as well, Tyler. Thank you so much.
Thank
We just
you.
have a question. Yeah, you bet. Rebecca just said, and you didn't miss it. I didn't mention this, Rebecca. There isn't necessarily a time that the module opens on Wednesday. Maybe
Right.
Tyler, when do you anticipate having the module open on Wednesday?
I'll have to talk to my instructor designer on that one, but I would imagine it would be, very much like start of business Eastern time. I would imagine you just we would go off of that, but we will finalize that one for sure.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca and Saisha and Maria. And I think Anna was with us too for great questions. We really appreciate your input and your interest in our course. And if you have additional questions, please do shoot us an email, jump on our website. Our enrollment coaches are always available on chat. And we look forward to seeing you on October 7th. Tyler, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you in about a month.
Thanks, everybody.